David Rosales, part of the Strength Inc. staff, here live with the man, the myth, the legend, Ed Coan. We're going to head to do an interview for SeriousPowerlifting.com for our friend Alex. Alex asked this, Ed, where'd you grow
up? Southside suburbs, right around Chicago, Evergreen Park, Illinois.
All right. And did you play any sports as a kid?
Pretty much everything. Baseball, football, basketball. I wrestled a little bit in high school before I got into lifting, and I just didn't want to be a little squirt anymore, so that's why I pretty much started.
Absolutely. All right. Now, has anybody particularly inspired you throughout your career?
Well, I got into powerlift. Well, I got into bodybuilding because of Arnold. So that's what I tried first, and I realized I really like going heavy all the time. And Franco Colombo used to go heavy, so that's why I tried powerlifting.
Okay.
And I saw Bill Kazmaier compete on TV once, and he was a monster at 6'3", 330, still with abs. So I was like, I want to be like that.
Right.
So I started lifting.
Absolutely. All right. So, and pushing right into that, that's what got you into lifting weights. That's what got you into powerlifting specifically.
Yeah, pretty much. Just not wanting to be a little squirt anymore.
Absolutely. All right. So is it true that when you started squatting, you maxed out twice a week, adding 5 pounds each session until you were squatting at least 500 pounds?
That's what I did. It worked. I didn't know any better, so I didn't put any, I wasn't handcuffed to any certain way of thinking, so I just did it, because when you're young for a while, you just keep going until something breaks.
Right.
And it didn't break at that point, so I just kept going.
Absolutely. Fantastic. All right, now, has your training program stayed pretty much the same over the years, or were there times where you would deviate for that, maybe even scrap the entire program and come up with an entirely new approach?
No, the basics stayed the same. Off season, I would do a little bit different stuff where I worked on my weaknesses. Like I would change the way I squatted. Instead of doing a regular power squat, I'd do a high bar closer stand squat, and I would do stiff leg deadlifts and a little more assistance work for my upper body to help my bench out.
Okay, great. What routine yielded you the absolute best results when you were in your prime?
The one that I did in my prime, the linear periodization and working all my assistance work as heavy as I could.
Hear that, guys? Linear periodization. All right, so if you had to pick one assistance exercise for each one of the big three, what would they be and why?
For squats, it was either my off-season high bar close stand squats that worked on my weaknesses, because my hips and back were way stronger than my quads, or quad squats. And for the bench, close grip benches and inclines. And for deadlifts, stiff leg deadlifts and heavy bent over rows.
Bent over rows, okay. Fantastic. What was your best overhead press?
Never did them. I used to do seated behind the neck presses, and the most I ever went up to was 400. That's the most I ever tried.
400 pounds. What were your best gym lifts?
In the squat, I know I went up to 900 for 5 in the squat, with the straps down.
Right.
I believe I did a double at 981 before in the squat. In the bench, I mean, it's a YouTube video. I did 550 for 2. I did a 550 pause with my feet up in the air, and I did a 565 pause. And that's not raw before, pretty much I ever put on any type of shirt or anything.
Right.
And a 565 raw pause, just regular in the gym. Never did really, close grip. I went up to 5 1/4 for a pause on the bench. Inclines I've gone up to 45, but that's, after I benched close grip, then I did inclines. I never did a regular, incline day.
Right.
Deadlift, I doubled 900 sumo in the gym. I've gone up to, with no equipment, no belt or anything, 855 for a couple real easy. I pulled 892 with no belt in the gym, conventional style.
Right.
That's about it. Nothing. I mean, I don't have any curl records or any stupid stuff like that.
I got you. All right. Raw strength, Ed Coan. All right, next question, Ed, is how soon before a meet would you start to incorporate pause benching, if you even did it at all?
I didn't do it at all, but I would pause my close grips and my inclines.
Okay.
So I got used to it already anyways.
Okay.
And I would do that all year round.
All year round. Okay, great. All right, now what's your favorite tricep movement?
Push downs with a straight bar.
Straight bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I use a straight bar when I bench, so I use a straight bar for that. But I like really heavy push downs. I mean, I did close grips, which helped my triceps out too, but
Right.
it was mostly push downs. And if my shoulders weren't hurting, I would do a lot of dips.
Okay. Okay. Good point. Okay, how many years of training did it take for you to actually reach 1,000 pounds in squat?
Well, look at when I first squatted 1,000, it was what, like 99 or 2,000 or something like that. So from the time I started my first meet in 1980 till the time I got there.
Right.
But I never attempted it before that.
Okay.
So I don't know if I could have hit it before, but I hit it at the right time for me.
Good point. Good point. So have you always walked out your squats, or have you used a monolift?
I walked them out all the time because that's the kind of competition I went in.
Okay.
I did go in one WPO meet where they had a monolift, but I walked it out because that's what I was used to.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Have you ever utilized a high rep squat program like the 20 rep squat program?
No, it wouldn't have done me any good. It would just burnt me out too much.
So you've been overexerting force on your.
It was the too high intensity too soon, and there's no use in it for me.
All right. Fantastic. So have you ever utilized bands or chains? And again, we've never seen you use any of them in your videos. So
yeah, well, back then, no one was using them anyways.
Right.
There is a use for them, especially guys that wear equipment. Bands I like for some rehab work. That a guy named Kelly Sterrett and Donnie Thompson show on a lot of videos.
Okay.
Actually, great stuff. And chains I've tried in the bench.
Okay.
And they're pretty cool in the bench.
Okay.
They can actually still help you out raw or equipped.
Excellent. Good to know. Good to know. So how did you come up with your specific deadlift program?
Just reading what all the guys before me did, all the great lifters before me, because I used to read the magazines, powerlifting and all the bodybuilding magazines.
Right.
And just tried and true over time.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Here's a very pointed question. What made you start pulling sumo?
I tried it and it worked. That's
Absolutely.
pretty much
Simple
it.
as that, right?
I've always done both, especially in the off season, because I thought conventional would still build my hamstrings and my lower back and mid back and upper back and all that stuff so much better for development wise to keep it strong.
Okay.
As an aid to help my sumo out anyways. But when I first started sumo, it just was like miraculous how easy it was for me.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. So you prefer sumo over conventional?
For a max weight back then.
Right.
But then, after I tore an adductor, tore a hamstring, I went back to conventional to save myself from getting hurt again.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, in some of the training videos, you pull conventional, and again, this may touch on something we've already talked about. Do you feel that sumo doesn't hit up some of the muscles as hard as conventional?
Exactly what I said.
Right.
I like conventional in the off-season, especially to help my sumo, to strengthen all the areas that sumo wouldn't hit, especially my back.
Okay, fantastic. This question is about grip variations. So what about grip variations do you like to employ, and have you ever pulled double overhand or with a hook grip?
I never needed a hook grip because I never had a grip problem, and I should have.
Massive hands, right
yeah,
there.
So I never had a grip problem. So I never. I did pull double overhand for fun. I've gone up to 600 or a little over that.
Okay.
Without hooking it, just double overhand. But I never needed to.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, coming to the end here, though, we've got a few more questions. Have you ever trained your core directly, or did you just develop it through heavy squats and deadlifts?
Mostly through heavy squats and deadlifts with no belt. A lot of off-season stuff with no belt.
Okay.
And your body has no, it has no choice but either to adapt or die. So it's kind of like adaptation. It kind of like fills it in.
Right.
I did do a little bit of abs here and there, but not much. It was mostly stuff without a belt. That helped me the most.
Excellent. Good to know. All right, now did you have any specific way of telling where you were overtraining and how to back off if you needed to?
Yeah, because if you have a sensible training routine set up, not where, I squatted 500 in this meet or in this training session. The next time I go out, the next cycle I do, I'm going to go 580 or some stupid number way too high.
Right.
That's not achievable.
Okay.
That's the only time that people end up screwing up. But as long as you don't do anything stupid like that, you could tell there's usually no other reason to miss.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. All right, now big question here as we're live on the set. Do you still train at Quad's Gym?
Yes, I do.
That's where we are. All right, now what is your most cherished moments throughout your illustrious powerlifting career?
There's probably a whole bunch of them. I mean,
I'd imagine.
Where it got me is really cool. Not just being in the magazines, but I got so many friends all over the world. That's probably the coolest thing I've had.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure you have lifelong riches from the friendships you've been able to.
Yeah, it's neat.
Absolutely. All right, now do you think the sport of powerlifting has a bright future?
Yeah, I think it's it has to adapt. I mean, there's a lot of big raw movement right now, but there's still guys wearing single ply equipment, which is just one layer of stuff.
Right.
There's guys, they say extreme powerlifting, they wear multiple layers and use a lot more weight and stuff like that with a monolift, because it's easier with the amount of weight they handle and with the equipment to use a monolift where they don't have to walk it out. But it's all the same but different.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, number one and final question here for you, Ed, is can you tell us about your website, strengthinc.com, and why it is that you started it?
I started it because there's not a lot out there on my training. And I figured I could help a lot of people and do a lot of good for myself and my buddies that are helping me with it and get all the information out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is David Rosales and Ed Coan here doing the interview again for SeriousPowerlifting.com. Thanks again. Ed, closing thoughts?
Thanks, Serious Lifting.